Beano Lion Media presents Business First.
Hi all, and welcome to a new episode of Business First with Sonia Alleyne. I am your host, and this is a podcast that's dedicated to helping people think bigger, better, and bolder about how they enter the marketplace. So please share with your friends, family, colleagues, anyone you know who runs a business, is thinking about starting a business, or feels a little stuck in their business. This is the place for you to be. And I'm excited about our guest today because he has a wealth of information. He has had so much experience in so many different areas that I know we're going to have him back, because there's no way we're going to be able to jam-pack this hour with everything that I know that he could share and offer to you. He's an educator, a coach. He worked as a senior corporate professional in the financial industry. He's a serial entrepreneur who now runs a digital currency business with offices in Mexico and the Dominican Republic. Dr. Charlie Williamson, we're going to have you back. Like, I'm welcoming you now just to tell you that we're going to have you back. How are you, sir?
No, I'll be here. There's not a problem. I'll bring a cart. I'll sleep here if I need to. You don't have to worry about bringing me back. I'll be here.
Very good. Very good. One of the things, so you were introduced to me just a couple of weeks ago, and someone said, a friend of mine said, you have to have Charlie on the show. And what struck me in our conversation is that you are really enjoying life, that you have a good time. And I'm not saying that you don't work hard, but it seems like you really enjoy the work that you do. And even if you run into problems, you're just going to be able to figure it out, or you seem like the type who would just walk away from it if it doesn't work out.
True. And it is, I think it's very important to find your place in life where you feel very comfortable within yourself. As I evolved as an individual, I just started to get more comfortable in my skin. And I said, I'm going to be my whole person because it's good enough. So,
wow.
Where some people have to transition or go to one meeting to another meeting, and they kind of shift with the setting. I think my personality is good enough just to be everywhere, that I'm invited to. And when there are issues, you're right, I'll say to myself, Hakuna Matata. I literally say Hakuna Matata.
Really?
I literally say Hakuna Matata. And when I say it in like settings, when someone does something or something goes wrong, I say, no worries, Hakuna Matata. It kind of brings joy to the room. That person just laughs automatically. So, I try to do anything possible to have a very contagious personality that is one that's cheerful. Sometimes it throws people off because they're wondering, is it consistent? I'm absolutely consistent. You'll find me this way all the time.
Wow. And I have to believe that it has absolutely served you in business, where you're dealing with different personality types, where you're dealing with competitiveness, all sorts of challenges, things that can go wrong. I'm sure this is a quality that serves you really well in business.
Yeah. And I appreciate you recognizing that. Over time, I would like to see more people in the world recognize it, and perhaps ask questions as to how did I get into this mindset? And like I said before, it's, where I grew up, I came from humble beginnings. So everything for me is only up. I don't have it down. I already was at the lowest point in which, you can see only above, but not below, because everything below is just literally the earth. I've been here on government assistance. I grew up in, very, very humble beginnings. Sometimes my mother would cook a meal, go inside the other room and don't eat with us. So I've been there. And I even recall when I was around 19, well, probably a little younger than that, 17 years old, I handed my mom the old food stamp, the paper food stamp that came out of the booklet. I cut out the face in the middle, and I put my face in it. And I handed it back to my mother, and I said, one day I'm going to be successful and we won't be on welfare anymore. When I got my doctorate, my mother handed it back to me and said, "You did."
Oh my God!
And one of these days, I'm going to show you. I'm going to show you it. It's real. It's a real thing. And it was that type of mindset that kind of led me to get to where I'm at today. Was just, and I'm just going to keep being the best example possible. and just, try to do my best, die trying, literally, whatever it takes to reach those places that us as Black people need to achieve.
What a powerful story. And when you had started to talk, what the question I was going to ask is, at what point did you feel that this is where I am now, but it's not going to be where I'm staying? This is not going to be my life. Do you remember the creating that you're putting your face on that coupon is tremendous. But do you remember what your thought patterns were at that time that said, I'm going to do something different?
Yeah, I've always had to go against the odds. I think it probably started a lot earlier than that. I had a speech impediment and I studied tremendously. And they used to call me Spanish-speaking Charlie. Now I speak Spanish fluently, by the way. At the business in Dominican Republic and Mexico, right?
Right. Wow.
The teacher and the social worker at that time said, you know what, you're going to be limited. You're not going to have certain professions, jobs. And
you were in elementary school when they were telling you this?
Elementary school. And back then, they associated speech impediments with cognitive deficiencies.
Yeah.
Right? And so now you have these, individuals on medicine and everything. The only medicine for me was just to get up and keep trying. I was fortunate for me when I was born, I was immediately delivering something into the community. If you go to Mount Vernon, New York, where I was born and raised, they have the Mount Vernon Neighborhood Health Center on 7th Avenue, Fall Street. And I was the first child ever delivered out of this trailer medical experiment of a center. When I became the first child born there, it kind of said to them, perhaps there is a need to do something bigger, and they built the Mount Vernon Neighborhood Health Center. So there was always some type of reminding. There was always some type of guiding force bigger than all of us. I always like to contribute to my faith, and that's God, that has brought me where I'm at today. I mean, there are times where, look, I sat back and felt, I guess it's going to get better. What can I do? I just worked. I did everything possible. And I can tell you on my jobs, I worked delivering newspapers. I begged my mom to deliver newspapers at 8 years old. I worked at 2 Spanish bodegas. I worked for Penny Savers, Curtain Country, Red Lobster, Burger King, Pathmark. I did gardening. I literally construction. I did all of those different types of blue collar jobs and also administrative jobs. I just was never afraid of working, and trying to be, the best. And every time I made something, I would bring it home. I worked at the bodega. I brought home eggs. That's how they paid me. Mm-hmm. And when I was selling biscuits and chicken in the projects, it was a lady, she'd make biscuits and chicken. I would take it all around the projects, knock on people's doors and see if they wanted biscuits and chicken. I just never, always try to figure out a way to be an early entrepreneur. I didn't even know the word entrepreneur. It was, for me, it was like eat today.
Right.
I didn't know that word. It was too sophisticated. All I knew is I needed to eat today and help my family, and doing those things that I mentioned allowed me to do that. My mother was a single parent. She went to school at night and, received a GED. And then she became a clerical assistant going through Audrey Caldwell, one of those secretary schools. Mm-hmm. And then eventually she retired as a senior vice president of Citigroup. So there was
a senior vice president.
Yeah. So, there was, I've had a strong Black woman give me a very good example of what I could be. My father wasn't there for me, unfortunately. My father didn't know his father. My mother never knew her father. My name comes from a person that they both respected as a father figure.
Wow.
So, I really believe that there was something for me to have to do, because it wasn't just an easy path for me. There was always something that, I could be talking on forever about it. I normally don't even talk about this. I think this is probably the deepest I've ever been about it. And hopefully it will help other people realize they're not alone, that, other people have similar stories.
Absolutely. I mean, we're going to get into, your professional background and the lessons you've learned. But this is so dynamic and so inspiring and heartfelt. I'm glad that you're sharing it with us. What would you say to people? And I've met a lot of people. And I myself, will offer up excuses sometimes for why something can't be done. And I've sat and commiserated with other folks who will talk about why things can't be done. Like, what do you say to people who come to you, right, and say, I don't think I can because X, Y, and Z?
I think the most important thing is, do you want it? I don't know if you can always tell somebody to do something. That has to be in their heart. Some of the things that you're doing, I'm doing, individuals have to want it. They have to want to be there. If they do approach me, I'm hoping that they're coming to me because they want it. And if that's the case, I'll tell them, just do it. Don't worry about the risk. Take every risk. The only risk at being successful is not taking the risk at all.
I know.
Right? So
that is so true.
I tell people, just go for it. What do you have to lose? Go for it. If you think you could be, I'll give you a real good example. When I was doing my doctorate, I wrote a paper called The Natural You Concept. Theoretical notion of self, internal validity versus external validity, how people actually build themselves up. So I looked at it and I thought about for a while, why do we get to this place where we begin to settle on being a certain person, a certain profession? And I brought myself back to that moment of, when I was in elementary school and someone said, what do you want to be when you grow up? And everyone in the room, they would say something, an astronaut, and they'd be like, yes, you can, a doctor. Yes, you can, a lawyer. You can say anything you want. The answer was, yes, you can. And then the grading system came in and it started saying, you're an A, you're a B, you're a C, you're an F. You're good at math. You're horrible at science. You're a good writer. You're not good at math. And so those things started to shape people because it's the external validity. You don't know anything. So you only know what is being given to you. You have all this external validating you. And after a while, individuals settle. I never was good at math. How you never was good at math? Because the school teacher told you that?
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And so when people say I have to think outside the box, I say, no, the first question you have to answer is, what put you in the box in the first place? Right? What's the prior concept that, put you in a position where you felt that you were confined, and then identifying that confinement, right? And those things that put you in that place, the next thing should be for you to remove those things and then bring things externally that you believe can help you now expand the box. And as you expand the box, you build your confidence, and then you should arrive to a point where there is no box.
There is no box.
Right? There is no box. I don't need to think outside the box. There is no box. I'm open and embracing everything that comes to me. And that's what I believe I've always done. I just did it, unconsciously.
And now you're doing it. You did it for yourself, but this is what you do now with clients as a coach as well.
Yes. I tell people this. It's very, 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 very interesting. 99.9% of all my clients are women. I only have one male. And it's not because I say, assign only women come. It's just that I have found that a lot of the women that have came to me, they want growth. They want to be progressive. They want to be proactively progressive. They think about their whole family. They think constantly growth. How can I become better? How can I compete? And all my clients are Black women trying to be very successful. And all of my clients, by the way, have been successful. Thank God. Not one of my clients have not been successful. All of them have achieved greatness. And I think it's just amazing, that statistic. All of my clients are women. And, I've had male clients have come and gone, but they tend to be very reactionary. They come when they have a problem, solve it. Okay, Charlie, I'm back in like a month or two. Oh my God, this happened to me. How do I handle it at work? Okay, this is what you do. All right, it worked. See you later. Okay, I'm gone.
Can you share what's one of your favorite success stories with some of the women that you've coached?
So I have this young lady whose father had died in the military. The mother and her and the other siblings came and had to get back into civilian life, and it was a real tough situation for them becoming acclimated. And they did not have like the structure of having success around them or having an example because everything was military focused. And within a short period of time, I was able to help her do well at Citigroup. And she was a very humble person. Sometimes our Black women are just too humble, when they should be, realize that they have just as much power, if not more power than, male counterparts. Anyway, I kind of toughened her up, and she went from an AVP to a VP. And it was just amazing to watch her take on these challenges, interface with people that she would have humbled herself to that were white and Caucasian, and seeing and experiencing white privilege. And just to watch her be able to overcome that. And then on top of that, her mother became my client as well. Wow. And she's also part of the Veteran Association, doing it as therapeutic services for herself, being a widow to a veteran. And so she did a major transformation. So now I have a mother and a daughter, both becoming successful, one in the Veteran Association, one in corporate America. Now I'm working with the mother to create a non-for-profit or possible for-profit organization that is going to cater towards widows of veterans. And the whole point of it is that widows are veterans. That's what we're doing. Wow. Widows are veterans. They've been there, they've gone through it. That's right. The whole process, and our military doesn't recognize it. So this is a huge thing, because her just talking about it, the mother just talking about her husband, took her down, and now is able to turn it around and get her to say her husband's name a different way, associating it to a foundation. Now her husband begins to live on, so she didn't lose him now. Right. She just has another part of him. He's making another impact. He's still serving. So that's one of my, and it's not a finished story. Absolutely. And we'll talk about it one of these days, Sonia. I would like her to come here, and it just feels so good. And a lot of times people say, Dad, you must be charging these people. I want to be very clear. With the daughter, I didn't charge her to a point, but when she had the baby, I didn't charge her a single dime. For the program, I didn't charge her a single dime. And it's not about the money, it's about what she's going to do. Right. So it's a bigger thing. I help her, and then other people are going to be helped. So I do pro bono stuff. I take it very serious. I'll take a young guy in the community and raise them up. I do that all the time. I mean, I can't do it forever. I won't make any money, but I do it where it. But it's important that you do when you can. Absolutely. Absolutely. You mentioned that she was from Citigroup. And so I do want the audience to get a sense of your climb through corporate America, and then even your exit to become a serial entrepreneur. Tell us a little bit about the earlier years. You went to college and studied. What did you decide to study when you were in school? So I have 4 degrees, which is I don't know how I got all of them, son. I'm still trying to remember. Sometimes I'm shocked. I'm like, I'm a doctor. I don't even realize I'm a doctor until somebody calls me a doctor sometimes. It's like, Dr. Williamson, I'll be still sitting there, whatever. Dr. Williamson, really? Oh, me. That's you. Yes. So So when I started off, I wanted to be a lawyer. That's what I wanted to be first. I wanted to be a lawyer. And
did you want to be a lawyer because that's what you knew? Like that's, doctor's lawyer. Okay.
I wanted to be a lawyer because I experienced police brutality.
Wow.
And I was beat very bad when the skin was taken off parts of my body.
Oh my God.
At the age of 14. And so it really dramatized me. And so instead of sitting back and processing in a negative way, which, I decided, let me pursue law. And I did not have I did not have money. I did not have any backing. So I would I went to the first university, which was the public library. And I would open up all the books and I would read about laws and everything about my rights, read articles. And then eventually I was able to get into Betty Owen, which was a school that did paralegal certification. And I studied that. And after studying it built up my confidence. It made me feel really strong as a person. And I could talk about that more. I just don't want to derail. When I got that paralegal certification, I remember feeling good one day when I was driving the car with one of my friends. He made a right. I go into a bodega, leave the car, go in a bodega, come out, and these two cops are writing him a ticket. I just asked a simple question, what happened, to my friend, and one of the cops said, be quiet or I'll write you a summons for not wearing a seatbelt. And I said, and if you do that, you will be breaking the law. Now, older me wouldn't have said that. Right? I would have been very afraid to say that.
Yeah.
And so I was so upset that I turned around and I went back the next day to the police precinct and I asked to file a complaint. Captain came down, brought me to his office, explained what happened. He goes, that person's up for a promotion. I said, and like I said, he profiled me. So I made a bet with him. I said, listen, he's working now? Yes. Okay. Bring him here. If he recognizes me, I will shake your hand and I will apologize. If he doesn't recognize me, I expect you to do something about it. So he called the guy out and he said to him, and the guy was standing right there next to me, do you know who this person is? He says, no. He asks him again, do you know who this person? No, never seen him before. I've never saw him before.
Wow.
So anyway, the captain and I, we agreed, and I told him, in a very respectful way, the point here is that you never know. You might need me. I might need you. Every Black person is not some thug, After I did that, reading law, I realized that all this stuff had to do with history. So I went and became a history major. And I cried all the time as a history major because in school, we teach about Martin Luther King and not even want to touch Malcolm X because they want us to realize we have rights. And after doing that, I went and worked for the Manhattan District Attorney's Office. So I figured, let me go into the system now and do something about it. So what I did was I worked for the Witness Aid Service Unit that dealt with victims of crimes, mainly women that encountered domestic violence and other type of crimes. And then I was promoted to be the director of the Drug Treatment Alternative Prison Program. And I loved that job because it was all about, addressing the Rockefeller laws, where I was able to help people not go to prison, instead go to, 18, 24-month drug treatment program. And once they finished, all their charges were dismissed, and these were predicate felons. So they would have served anything, anywhere between 7.5 to 15 years or even possible life. And I did that. I loved it. I went to a judge because I wasn't sure whether to become a lawyer or go and get a master's degree in business. And she said, Charlie, you're an MBA. So I went and studied business because she noticed that I was big on the administration of the government, which could probably led me to roles like a commissioner or something like that. And I wrote a thesis around Sarbanes-Oxley, which was all the stuff that happened with Enron. And my mother gave it to some executive over at Citigroup to read it, a high-level CIO. He read it. He was impressed with it. I slid in my resume. He brought me in to be the global head of all the service level agreements and contracts. And then from there, I just started following this crew of other executives, and they kind of rose me up into the, corporate America. And so after a while, I started realizing, hold on here, I could do this on my own. I already know what it's like to run a business. Growing up, right? As a kid, I already know what it's like to deal with difficult times being at the deeds office.
Right.
I know how to advocate myself. I understand law, legal. I can read contracts. I understand process. I build processes across, Fortune 500 companies. I know how to deal with money. I manage budgets of over several $1 billion. I know how to deal with people. And I was also smart about using my power as an executive. And the first time I went over to JP Morgan, I went 2 times. First time they wanted me so bad, they called my mother because they knew my mother. And said, Charlie should take this job. I was mentoring a young guy from Jamaica. His family came over. His father was deported. And so I told him, if you give him a job, I'll sign my contract. So they gave him a job 3 months before he graduated. So, I started realizing that, wow, there are some powers that I have here. I can actually make a difference. So I started saying, you know what? I'm going to have a stronger Black agenda.
I love it.
And then I decided, okay, let me now give this information to my people who are trying to do their own business. Perhaps I can help them be great. I've helped executives inside of these firms be great. Always lived in the shadows of it, white executives being great, and they compensated me. That's not what individuals like me need to be more visible, because if I'm visible, then I can help people. They can know that someone like me exists, that they can tap and get that help and coaching. And I can give this information to the people that I care about the most, that have this struggle. That's why we have all these initiatives. It's time for me to give it back a different way, not hand them a job, hand them a fishing pole.
And so they can access it anywhere they go, in any situation that they end up in.
Like what you said to me in the beginning of this session, whereas I can go to different things, I can deal with tough times. I want to hand them that fishing pole so that they can fish in a pond, fish in a lake, fish in the ocean. They can fish in any types of waters and catch something.
Right. And catch something. That's the important piece of it. Wow. Please explain what you do, because I know when I say digital currency, people think that you're probably trading. You do something very unique. You are not trading.
Yeah, a lot of people think that. Well, what happened was several years ago, I want to say about 7 years ago, when Bitcoin started to be discussed, individuals became leery of it. What is this? It's not real money.
Right.
It's not part of gold. It's not part of the government. It's not part of some traditional bank account. What does this mean? Well, I decided to go and explore exactly what it meant. When I started to realize that cryptocurrency was a way to disrupt the traditional market and liberate people from being stuck in these formal traditional government systems where they'd be taxed for any type of compensation, limited, and most importantly, financially oppressed. And what I mean by that is that only being given but so much opportunity to capitalize and become rich other than making a wish by buying a lottery ticket. Cryptocurrency now has allowed people to be wealthy in very, very simple ways. And so I started to look into that, and I realized, hey, this is a big market here. This is a big market. Let me go and teach people. Let me show them the power of money a different way. Before I tell you what it is, I want to say this one thing about help people understand the power of cryptocurrency. Right now, today, your most wealthiest people in the world are fiat rich. That means that they're government issued money rich. Cryptocurrency is the transformation. So if everybody become billionaires in crypto, what happens to the wealthy people in fiat? You see how this works? So these wealthy people need to now convert their money and try to get into a market that perhaps, individuals who are the truck driver, the hardworking maintenance person or whatever that's doing the hard job that turns around and says, I'm going to take $100 of my money and buy Dogecoin at 0.0005.
Right.
Now they go and buy it. And now they're the person eating at the Smith & Winski's, right? You want me to explain what digital currency is?
You know what? I would, because I would imagine that there are people in the audience like me. So, I remember hearing about Bitcoin, not paying attention to it. And then it became, it was more in the news. And then there was all of these, I was pitched so many, be a part of this and be a part of this group, and we'll teach you how to do that. And, which, were scams.
I'll teach you the universe.
Right.
And I'm going to make it very easy for you. What Bitcoin, just Bitcoin, let's just stay with Bitcoin. Bitcoin was created by an individual, don't know if it's a male or a female, and their whole intention is to be able for individuals to share something, money, between each other without an intermediary, meaning PayPal, Zelle, Venmo, Cash App, because when you go through those systems, they tend to govern the money, when you get the money, how much of the money, and they take a cut. Now, the cut is the problem, right?
Right. Everybody's a pirate, yes.
And so what this individual did was he accessed another level of internet where people do coding. So you have SurfaceNet, which is what we're now speaking over, Google, these things. Then you have the deep net, which is things where you can buy and visit sites and buy things that are not legal. And then you have the deep dark net, and that's where these really, some of them are criminal-minded individuals, some of them are ethical hackers. And he said to them, or they said to them, listen, contribute lines of code to help us build this unbreakable system of record. So what a system of record is look at your bank statement. And if you look at your bank statement and you buy something, it can show Sonia went to McDonald's, bought something for $5. Sonia received money from this person. Sonia sent money to this person. So those records are very specific to you. And therefore, you're vulnerable because your information, we know it's you. We know it's your bank. We know all those things. Where Bitcoin came in was it said, I'm going to make everyone anonymous. And we all are going to be on one bank statement. Everyone is going to be on one bank statement. We're all going to share that. And if I give you something, this is going to say person A gave the person B X dollars. That is it. What do you exchange it for? Don't care, don't know, is no one's business. This system of record tracks the money that Bitcoin creates on it. So Bitcoin creates this money on this system of record, which is called the blockchain. And on it, they have say, okay, I want to create this system of record. We'll manage this bank account. We'll have $21 million in this digital ledger, this public record. And everyone gets to use that money. And it's real money because you have to use your real dollars to buy it.
Right.
So it's not fake money. I can now go and buy a Bitcoin, send it to you, right? Whatever the sum is for whatever, you'll get it.
Right.
It'll be recorded. And that's the end of it. And it will be directly between you and I. There is no other groups that are interfering with the relationship, only you and I, and it's anonymous. And that's what Bitcoin is all about. Now, why would you go and use Bitcoin? Why is a crypto coin a powerful investment? People don't know why to buy them. What you're doing is each one of those coins have this system of record that processes transactions at a certain speed. So if I took a check, I gave you a check of $10,000 and you take that check to your bank account, they may only clear,
Right, only a small percentage of it.
Small percentage of it. And then you have to wait, 7 days.
Right, absolutely.
Because the system of record in banks has to do a lot of reconciliation. They have to check with the Department of Treasury, check with this one, check with that one, check with the routing number, all these things to make sure it's really authentic, it's you, and the money money is there to be given.
Right.
Bitcoin, that system of record happens in seconds. So each coin, Bitcoin, Litecoin, Ethereum, have their own system of record, their own processor that have a different speed and are used and designed for different types of transactions. Bitcoin would be for the everyday person who just wants to buy Yoo-hoo. If you go to use Ripple, Ripple is a coin, that
I'm invested in Ripple now.
Okay.
No, and so, but can I tell you, like, this is the best education. I hope that I'm not boring the audience. I hope that this is helpful for them as well. Because what I feel is that a lot of people don't know. Mm-hmm. And so I had a friend who has been guiding me. And so I did invest in Ripple, but you're making me feel a lot more confident about my investment.
Yeah. No problem. With Ripple is a very unique coin. It has been adopted. Its processor, this digital ledger, its system is all in-house. And so where some of the other coins have public community help process it, which is called miners, it's a whole nother meeting. Ripple has created a federated network of internal servers that now manages that whole processing in a very nifty anonymous algorithms.
All right.
So it became so popular and so well designed and protected that banks decided, Santander and a few of them said, I want it. Mm-hmm. Right, so they turned around, they bought it. So that's why Ripple is so powerful. XRP, which you own, is part of Ripple. It's part of Ripple in meaning that the coin exists on the Ripple platform. So that system of record holds whatever 600 million or something like that. It's a lot of coins. Wow. Now, why would you buy a XRP? You have a lot of countries like Venezuela and others that are deciding that they want to, have their own coin. They want their own secured system of record. And so if they use the Ripple platform, their system of record processing, wouldn't it be kind of smart not to create a separate coin? Why not just use the coin that already sits on Ripple, right? You're going to open up a store and I'm like, hey, you know what? I want a real good cash register payment system. I'm going to use Ripple. Well, what I'm going to use is money. I use dollars. I'll just use the money that's already in Ripple. You know what? I'm going to have you see where I'm going?
Well, I was also going to say, so, and this is so helpful. This is so educating. Would this also help countries not rely on systems like the IMF, these organizations where they've been lending money to countries and then cripple them with the interest? If they can then create their own coin, doesn't that help create some level of financial independence for them as well?
Yeah. So let's go back 4 years.
Okay. I knew we were going to have you back several times.
Years ago, when I started getting really deep into the crypto, I went to Afriexim, which was the largest import-export bank in Africa, based out of Egypt, Cairo, one of those. And I spoke with the CEO and I said, I would like to build the AfriCoin, one coin for the entire continent.
This was your request.
That's right. Okay.
This is all, and so just that people understand that this is all part of this Black agenda that you were talking about, right, earlier, in terms of educating people about how to fish in all of these different ponds. Okay.
So I turned around and I said, listen, I would like to build you a coin for all of Africa that will be the central coin in which all of trading will rely on, because the different African countries do not trust each other's money.
Right,
what they
exactly.
Would do is they would use the central coin as the currency, and then they convert it back into their currency, right? So now I use the AfriCoin. You'll buy AfriCoins. I have AfriCoins. You have whatever money, South African money, I have Egyptian money. Doesn't matter because we're going to use the AfriCoin, which is the currency, the crypto coin. And so that coin will now, once we do the trade, the central banks will honor it and convert it back to you and your national currency. You see what I'm saying?
Wow. Okay.
And I met with them and I discussed that. And all of the different central banks in Africa were agreeing that they would do such a model, which is build a coin for the continent, and then that coin, they will guarantee to process it back to the national currency in which wherever that client or that business owner exists.
Wow. So is this the birth of your digital currency business?
No,
that conversation?
The birth of my it is part of the birth. What I did was I wanted to build, and I did build an application called Tribe, and it's a fusion of eBay, Amazon.com, and Craigslist. And so you can turn around and you can buy or sell anything, buy something, post it, and identify which coins that you want and you're willing to accept. So we had Bitcoin, Litecoin, Ethereum, and Monero. And they can buy any product or service in exchange for those. And we left off the no fiat currency, no national US dollar or anything, because they don't have to worry about the taxes. They only worry about taxes once converted back into national currency. And so when I did the birth of that, and brought it to places like in Africa and other places around the U.S. and tried to get investors, they couldn't see it because it was still foreign to them. What is crypto? No, I don't know. And then those who kind of understood it said, come back, Charlie, in 3 years.
Yeah.
Here we are. And then I turned around and wanted to go another step further. And I built a cryptocurrency exchange where you can buy and sell cryptocurrency in a simulator so you can practice trading. You get 10,000 fake US dollars and you can buy real-time simulator and trade over 100 different coins. Then I created another product called Chai Trade, which allowed you to request someone to trade on your behalf. So to teach people how to be traders, like a broker on behalf of others, cryptocurrency. So we built that and I have it as a proof of concept. I taught it over at Metropolitan College in New York and also at Kane University in New Jersey. Because I sat on the board those places, and in teaching them, they were fine with me bringing it and making it as part of my curriculum. Then I also built another one, was called Chai Stream, which is basically Netflix using crypto.
Oh my gosh. Okay. I think I want to subscribe to that. I think we want to subscribe to that because what I was going to ask is for people who are interested, every once in a while there are these new things that are happening in our society economically. And often, we get left behind. Like we hear about it, we see it, we may have a bad experience. And so we write it off. And, crypto and currency trading, which is different from stock trading, is, all of these are opportunities for people to build wealth, whether that they want that to use that as their career or they use that money to fund the businesses that they want to start. And so what platform, and you're building some of them, obviously, but, where would you direct people who are interested in really learning more about this? Because are you still teaching it?
I was teaching some of this stuff on Facebook with some of my friends. I just started a YouTube channel, built one last week. When I did some of these early on Tribe development, I did it with Freedom Williams of CNC Music Factory.
Yeah.
Became a partner on a lot of this stuff. And we even talked about doing maybe a podcast called CNC Crypto Factory.
All right. You might want to join our platform.
No, you should do it. And he has the voice for it better than mine.
Wow.
So
Well, our producer is listening, so, but we'll carry on.
I'm definitely going to start this podcast and try to provide some education. You know, Max Hamilton of Max Mogul Rogue Media has also been bringing me into some of these summits and discussions. It's a transition for me from leaving Fortune 500s, and my goal is to build up my business in terms of the entrepreneur coaching and also the application development business. You know, my company, not only do we build digital money, we make the money. But I want to make people clear, when I say we make the money, we literally make the money.
Right.
Create a coin. I could create a Sonia coin in less than 48 hours. And it will be on the Ethereum platform. And you can tell me how many coins you want, what value you want me to set it day one. People want to use,
which could be a business that could be a whole new business that I could look at developing for myself.
You can use it to develop. It's incredible. Crowdfunding. So instead of going to Kickstarter and all those things, you can use this to generate money because it'll be on a platform and they can exchange it with other coins. So that's why people are getting in and doing this stuff. And you can also sell your products and services to crypto. And then you can avoid all of the taxation and only have to worry about it once you only convert it. My company also does something really, really important. We're a mobile application development company. So we take people and say, forget the web. We're going to put you on Apple and Android. And so we have apps. We take people's their whole business and put it in making mobile applications for them. And they can buy, sell, and have subscribed, whatever you want them to do on a mobile device. And the reason why we went into the mobile business is because it allows entrepreneurship to go really fast. You can make yourself big overnight. For example, once you have a mobile app, you're in everyone's pocket. Most people download applications and never delete them. They forget about them.
Right.
You might use them once or twice and they leave them there. So now you have somebody walking around with your company, you're in your pocket. Right. They don't have to go type in the URL and get somewhere. And if they need to buy something, they don't have to worry about pulling out their credit card and all this information and put it on an unsecure URL because you already registered your card with Apple and with Google Play when you opened up your account. So now all you have to do is hit buy, purchase. It's already there. So people are already at point of sale. All of the processing, everything happens by Apple and Google Play. So you don't have to worry about trying to connect it to some other bank account or to PayPal or Stripe or any of those things. It's already built in.
It's already built in.
So that's why we got into the mobile application business. And it's just amazing to be able to take somebody who's trying to compete with Walmart and say, listen, hey, let's create a mobile application for you. I have a client who started a juicing business. And she's making these health drinks and everything. And she goes to these pop-up shops and everything and sells her product. She runs out of product though, out there in the booth. And all she now has to do is say to someone, hey, download my app. You can order it right there. Open up an account and you hit the button and buy it. You don't have to worry about, trying to get any specific information from them. They don't have to worry about the risk of giving credit card information.
Right.
And then there it is. That person can continue selling without the product sitting, at her booth.
One of the things that makes successful entrepreneurs really competitive in the marketplace is this ability to be able to see into the future and start developing and building before we get there. A lot of Black entrepreneurs are really just stuck in the day-to-day. Like they're stuck with, making sure that they can, get payroll, that they can get the supplies in, that they can manage, hiring the right people. How important is it? And I think they know it's important, but what would you recommend to people to really be able to, it's important to be present, but to also always have like your vision toward what could be happening and what's going to be going on next, the next big thing and how they can capitalize on it.
Yeah, I think that, one of the things is don't allow yourself to be stuck with the vision alone. Let people contribute to that vision. So, if I remember one of the things that I learned early on is you need to leverage your network. There are people who meet people never call them. And that
It's
person
so true.
says, hey, look, call me anytime. And they never call them.
And they never call them.
It's like, well, why you didn't call them? Well, you know what to ask for. Now I'm coaching them on, this is what you can ask them for. Let's look at everybody in your list and figure out what they all can give you. Because there are individuals that know a lot of people, and then there are individuals that know a lot of people that would be willing to give them something, And so if you know people who will be willing to give you something, those are the ones, and it doesn't mean that they have to give you money, they have to give you knowledge or access.
Right.
So it's like, okay, if I know,
And access and knowledge sometimes can be so much more powerful than money.
I give you a good example. Look at what we're doing here. How many people are listening?
Yeah.
Now they know a Dr. Charlie Williamson, funny guy, opened up, a startup, a tech company, gives coaching, just off of this. I'm leveraging my network. I'm leveraging Sonia. I'm leveraging this platform, and just this alone is a starting place. Now, somebody might write me and say, hey, you know what? I have a really good idea for an app. I like to do it. Here it is. Yeah. And attending this one session, how many people did I reach? So, the hustle, I just bypass a lot of hustle. I just bypass a whole bunch of email, right? It's the truth, right? And you keep doing things like this, and hopefully, like he said, I'm going to bring you back. There it is. I achieved the goal. I won you over. You're willing to bring me back. Here's success. And success should be frequent. I had a successful phone call. I celebrate that.
Right.
Some people go, Dad, why are you celebrating? You didn't get anything yet. So the thing is that I felt successful. They understood me.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Which is huge, right? When you're pitching an idea or you have an idea and someone gets it, that is like money in the bank.
Even if they don't invest in it, I had a great.
Even if they don't invest in it,
Let's run. I the right words to excite them. Everything.
Yeah.
Celebrate. Everything, every opportunity I get, I celebrate. I have my team celebrate, and they'll sit there. My clients, I also make them celebrate. They're like, well, but my business still it. What you mean, but? But negates the first statement.
Yeah, it so does. And.
All right, you did this, and you're going to do a little bit more, and you're going to do a little bit more, and a little bit more. And you ultimately get there.
I love that. And so I think that's the perfect way to end part one of our conversation. Yes, please.
Mm-hmm. What do you think I can give back to people?
Oh my gosh, you already have. Are you kidding me?
There's always room. If you can sit back and just say, what is it, what people are missing? I'm going to make that one of my services. You don't have to answer it now. That's how that question, the question I'm asking you right now is
what we should all be asking ourselves.
Entrepreneurship. Because I'm now asking you to tell me, and I'm serious. If you say to me, Charlie, hey, look, that coin thing that you said, you need to focus a little bit more on that. Here's the audience. I'm going to listen to you. I'm going to give it a try. So I thank you so much for this.
I thank you for all. It was way more than I anticipated. Thank you. I'm thanking you on behalf of the audience. I know that those who are listening are going to be inspired and moved and going to be doing some homework on a lot of the things that you presented here.
And I'm here for you.
Exactly. I'm signing up to be a mentee. I know other folks are gonna sign up as well. And I will definitely stay in touch. Thank you so much for your time, the inspiration, all of it. I'm a little speechless because this is way more. You plan these shows and you kind of know what you're going to talk about, and you took us in so many different directions that were also so inspiring. And so, thank you so much for listening. And please share these podcasts with your friends and family, as I said earlier, and drop us a line. Let us know how you feel, what you think, what you'd like to see, and if there's anything that moved you or inspired you. And we'll see you again. Take care.
Business First is hosted and produced by Sonia Alleyne. Edited by Ken Johnson. Executive producers, Ken Johnson. Find the Business First podcast on Apple Podcasts, Stitcher, Spotify, TuneIn, or wherever you get your podcast. The Business First podcast is a Mean Old Lion Media production.